The golden rule is if it's too good to be true, it probably is. And that applies to real estate.
Can you give us some examples of how these scams work or what you've seen?
We see entities who say, get an ADU built and no payments at all for 12 to 24 months. We'll help you build your
Buy now, pay later. Classic scammer technique.
ADU from A to Z. We give you the plans, the permits, and the contractors. And so they really sell it well. They put a nice positioned person on screen, sometimes AI, which a lot of people don't know that. They use a lot of social media. They use TikTok.
And when the offer is come to the
I've seen this a lot. It's something that's really popular right now because they passed legislation for ADUs and it is flooding everywhere. So just another reminder, always be careful. But there's some red flags in here of things you should never do. So let's go over it.
to the buyer, do they get money from the buyer and they disappear? Can you explain to us how these work? So if you have examples of them.
You would be so surprised how quickly people are willing to write a $300,000 check or a $100,000 check. And all they see is the shiny ADU at the end of the computer screen. In many instances, these organizations
Yeah, that's a terrible idea. Don't write a $300,000 check for a little graphics that someone cooked up. Terrible.
aren't even coming to the homeowner's location. They're doing a Zoom call. They're showing elevations that are in a 3D facet, and they're showing them everything and giving them everything they want to hear. And
See, this is a good example of why face-to-face business is great. In real estate, face-to-face, you meet people, say hello, shake their hand. It's very important.
oh, we can get it done quickly.
And they approach these homeowners by saying there is no payment, but then they get them to write a check.
Unbelievable.
How does that
So
work?
what we have found is with a group that was down in the San Diego area is they were able to figure out a loophole with regards to solar financing. And so consumers had no idea that they were taking out personal solar loans. And people thought they were getting ADU financing, and ultimately it was home improvement or solar financing.
That's weird.
And those funds, unfortunately, were sent directly to the contractor in this instance. Another group up north was able to basically pitch ADU product, turnkey, A to Z will complete your project. And because people are so interested and don't understand the laws, know that they are not supposed to write a check more than $1,000 upon signing a contract. And then once materials are delivered to, potentially write an additional check.
And is there a way for these consumers to recoup the funds they lose to the contractors?
That's how a bank does it. When they give you a construction loan, if you get a $1 million construction loan, they don't just write you $1 million check. There's certain milestones that you have to complete, and they keep an eye on you. So same thing for an ADU.
Unfortunately, no. In many instances, these individuals that are preying on folks may not be licensed. So who do you go after if that person wasn't licensed? They've got a fraudulent business that they've set up, or potentially they're having the checks written in a name. You say, well, wait a minute, it's just another identity. They have a bank account established and they're able to cash the check and or receive wires. On the flip side, you have contractors that are licensed that are doing the work or take on an ADU project with full intentions of not completing the project. Because I've had contractors who I've called just as a courtesy to say, hey, maybe there was a misunderstanding between you and the homeowner, why the project's not completed, why we're almost at completion. And the contractor has basically said, I don't care. I'll get a complaint. I'll turn in some documents and I'll move on.
See, I don't know exactly what the fines are, but that's a really good point she's making up. If there's no financial incentive to finish, then people won't finish. So hold people liable and people will do good work.
And that's kind of the attitude. Very cocky. So someone who's been in this space the last 3 or 4 years, seeing many of the same patterns, we have suggested that there be some changes. And we definitely ask homeowners to take it slow. when you are looking or considering to do an ADU. Though HPP Cares does not have ADU grant funds at this time, we suggest that you call us just to simply get a few questions asked. Can I do an ADU? Where do I start? And our organization, like many other HUD housing counseling agencies that have an ADU department, will be happy to assist you free of charge.
That's
And I
excellent.
went and looked on our local website here in Sonoma County, and they actually have a process of this is what you do, this is who you contact, because they are trying to get those ADUs out there. But that means a lot of people are taking advantage of it too.
And now, Catherine, where do you think this trend is going from here? What's next for this ADU boom in California?
I've seen it grow tremendously, and a lot of people get educated. A lot of people are.
Fun little fact though, in some places ADUs are doing well, and in other places not so much. Like in San Francisco, there's basically no space to put ADUs, and I think it was in 2024 they had like 50 or 60 applications for the whole city. So some places ADUs are booming, and other places it's not really making that big of a difference.
Able to be successful in the process. This is a space where either we get it right or we don't. It's a way to carve out affordable housing. The new bill is in place where you can actually sell the ADU. There's so many options, and we have the space. It's just figuring out how to make it work. So if you say, Catherine, what is your role in this? I'm trying to protect it with all my might. That's why when we do see scams and things of that nature, we try to get ahead of it. We try to talk to the regulating bodies to say, hey, these are the things that need to change and or be improved so that we can continue to see ADUs as a success.
Do you see any pushback from the neighbors because of parking issues and congestions?
Yes, we have a lot of people that want to push back on ADU processes. And sometimes I wonder, even at a city level, if that's the case as well, because of the delays that come with the permitting process. But unfortunately, yeah, there are a lot of people who find that it'll be congestive to their neighborhood. It'll bring down their property values because ultimately you're renting the space to maybe someone who doesn't look or feel the part. There are some higher net wealth areas that we do see a lot of pushback because they feel that if you allow ADUs in, you're allowing people who don't belong to the community. And that's the unfortunate aspect.
Well, that's a little bit of, hey, we're too rich for you kind of mentality. Look, it is true that basically what you do is you build an ADU in the backyard, and then how do you drive back there? Right. And there's only so many allowed parking spaces and garages and all that. So I think that maybe they could accommodate some rules for that as well. That would help ease the burden that the ADU creates on the surrounding infrastructure.
Of it.